Hello again. So in today's video, I'm going to honor a couple requests that I had to do some things with the lower body, particularly the back and the legs. And we'll get to that in a moment. But first I want to speak a little bit to head forward posture. In the last video, I think, and possibly the last two, I was showing you things to do with the neck and the shoulders, relieving tension there, opening up the front of the chest and whatnot. And I just want to shed a little bit of light on the role that the head plays in that kind of tension and constriction in the area. So consider for a moment that the adult human head weighs on average about 10 to 12 pounds. So think of a bowling ball, right? Which I tend to do a 9-pound bowling ball, but so this would be a rather heavy one for me. But just imagining holding a 10 to 12-pound bowling ball in your hand 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, every day. It would get a little bit fatiguing, correct? So when we're born, the moment we come out of the womb, the body is continually adapting to the weight of the head. So over a lifetime, the structures adapt in place, the musculature, the bones, the connective tissue, the ligaments, everything creates what we could almost call an anti-gravity tent that supports the weight of the head over a lifetime. So in a sense, it's kind of weightless for all practical purposes and can support the movement without a whole lot of issue. However, what starts to happen as we get older, and it's not just about age, it's also about habits, and it's about the movements that we are putting our bodies in, which is all leaning forward, getting closer to whatever it is we're looking at and whatever we're doing, shoulders pulling forward, as well as a lot of movements that don't recruit our arms and our upper back and things in a way like they might have in a more say active society, but like ancestral movements, a lot of upper body stuff, crawling, climbing, all of these things would otherwise go into being able to support a 10 to 12 pound head and prevent it from drifting forward. So both the absence of that kind of activity as well as the repetitive presence of postures that pull the head forward change the dynamics of what's happening in the upper body. So there's a little pictogram that goes around in the bodywork world that says for every inch forward off the center line your head goes, it adds another 10 pounds to your head. So that's pretty significant, right? And it's not that your head's actually getting heavier, it's just that how your musculature is registering that weight load, it feels like another 10 pounds, and so it adapts accordingly. In other words, the muscles in the back stretch, but they're also pulling back at the same time, trying to keep your head from dropping to your chin, right? All of the spines of the vertebrae start to adapt and drift forward. Meanwhile, the bones of the neck are doing the opposite to keep the head up as the upper body's pulling forward. So we've got a lot of things going on there that over time the body adapts to, it reinforces, it helps us do more of what we're already doing, so it's less effort. The problem is that it also becomes very restrictive and at times painful. So the bad news is it's not an easy fix in terms of just sitting up straighter. Not that you shouldn't try to sit up straighter, but it doesn't necessarily change all of the microdynamics of what's happening in a condition like that. But the good news is that the body is very malleable, and I think there are movements, exercises, massage, and all kinds of things that one can do to start to bring that head and shoulder relationship back into harmony and alignment, which I can introduce as, in future weeks, just as we go along, a little bit at a time, right? Okay, so that's my head forward speech for now. So getting on to lower body stuff, find a place where you can have a little bit of arm clearance. And I'm just going to start with my feet about pelvis width apart, maybe a little bit wider, and just starting with turning the pelvis. So all the movement's just coming from here, and I'm turning my hips side to side, letting the upper body follow. Now, if you have a lot of back tension, particularly in these muscles that go up along the spine, you're going to notice that when we start doing this, and just go a little bit easier at first. We don't need to wrench anything. We're just coaxing some ease, coaxing some opening into the back and the back muscles. In as much as you can, in as much as your shoulders allow, just let your arms become weightless. Taking nice, smooth breaths in and out. This is a classic, I mentioned Qigong. This is a classic Qigong move, I think I've said before, to just facilitate some circulation through the spine. And now what I'm also doing as I come around is my hand is hitting my low back, just below my rib cage, where the kidneys are, which can also help wake us up a little bit, wake up the kidneys, encourage circulation in the low back, which can get very stiff, stagnant. All right, I'll bring that to a slow stop. All right, another spinal move. We're going to shift. This is a little tricky for a lot of people because it's not a movement we typically do, and it's like a matter of how to engage the muscles as well as trying to move muscles in a way that aren't used to moving this way, but keeping my pelvis straight forward, shifting my rib cage from one side to the other. So at first it might look like this, and that's okay too. That's going to help open up the muscles in the sides and the abdomen. But I'm kind of trying to slide my bottom ribs kind of like this, from one side to the other. And in essence, it's going to allow the spine to move in that lateral plane that it doesn't normally get to do. Get a little, if it feels good, again, we don't want to wrench anything. You don't want to tweak or torque, but if it feels good to just get a little bit of flow up through the spine, feel free. And then just dropping one arm down to the other side. All right, and then we'll come back to some percussion.